Welcome into the latest episode of Betting the Pitch. Your host, the real underscore G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is a Friday, May 3rd. Happy birthday to my sister Ella. May 3rd edition of Betting the Pitch. We're going through the top 5 European soccer leagues. Going to pick a best bet from each of the countries and an ultimate best bet end of show, which will be cut onto at the real underscore G Warner on YouTube and on Instagram. Thank you all for the support. If you could leave a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube. It'd be huge for growing this channel. I'm going to go through another hopefully brief format of best bets from each of the leagues, every game that's happening. We have matches today. Shoot, I already forgot to do my Premier League lineup. Great, awesome, off to an incredible start already. But we might as well get into it because what else is there to do after you already missed the deadline? I think from a money perspective, of course, we'll start in the English Premier League. And so we'll go to Luton Town hosting Everton. That match is starting in an hour and a half, hence missing that deadline. Luton Town, a pick 'em right now at home. All the juice in Everton on the road. Over-unders 2 3/4, juice all the way to over. I think the reason for this line being pretty significantly short to me, and something that you have to watch out for, teams that are safe and are on the beach, Everton look to be, and that certainly does diminish their effort, their fight. I don't think that's something you can usually count on in most sports, but I feel like in soccer it means the most, especially after Everton, what they've been through this season. But in terms of where this number has moved, it's seemingly been more and more. I guess Everton money has come in recently. It looks like this one's going to move towards the over as well. Maybe hit 3 before kickoff. I think it's my biggest interest in this one, though the Luton Town defense is certainly hard to trust. Might be one of those where I don't really know that there's much for me to do, to be frank. Moving next to the Saturday matchups, we have Arsenal hosting Bournemouth in the early one on Saturday, May 4th. Arsenal, a 2-goal favorite at home, almost all the juice on the road on Bournemouth. Over-under is 3.5. Juice more to under than to over. Arsenal in deeply in this Premier League fight, still trying to stay as far ahead from Manchester City as possible. We'll see if they're able to do that the entire season. I think Bournemouth, I mean, they've looked pretty interesting. I'm not sure about the status of Semenyo after his being stretchered off. Not a great scenario, clearly, end of that match, but hopefully he's healthy, or at least maybe it's end of season, and they're not too worried, Bournemouth, that is, about much going on with them in the relegation picture. They're, I think, clearly safe. Andoni Iraola has done a great job there. I think I'm most interested in fading Arsenal. I don't know that they're going to score as many goals from penalty or from corner kicks like they did against Tottenham in the North London Derby, and coming off a big rivalry game, hard to see them with another dominant performance. So give me Bournemouth +2, and I like under 3.5 as it correlates there as well. Into the big window of Saturday matchups, we have Brentford hosting Fulham. Brentford, a quarter-goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over-under is 3, just slightly more to under. Brentford have been getting a ton of respect from the Premier League market. I don't think it's because Ivan Toney, because he's looked pretty average to say the least. But I do think that I've been trying to take notice of that. With that said, Fulham have looked pretty much on the beach for a month now, it feels. Don't think that anyone's really caught on to that, but that's probably my biggest interest here is Fulham getting a quarter of a goal, but it's really hard to know how much I can trust them. Lean to under 3 with that important push there. Sheffield United then hosts Nottingham Forest. Currently, Sheffield United, a 3/4 goal underdog at home. All the juice in Nottingham Forest on the road. Over-under is 3, just slightly more to over, just 2-cent difference at BetOnline. If you're not a member of BetOnline, SportsBetting.ag. I think BetOnline has stopped doing their reload bonuses, but I think are still doing first-time deposits. There's a link in the podcast description on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, plus on YouTube. If you have not signed up at those sites, I would jump in there fast so you can get some free money from those casinos before they go away forever. My, I guess, feeling on the Sheffield United number here, they're already relegated, have been one of the worst teams in the Premier League. And I've found that a lot of times relegated sides, they get overpriced, so undervalued is probably a better way to say that, and they perform once they're relegated. I just don't know that Sheffield United have really enough talent to do that sort of thing. Nottingham Forest is fighting relegation still. Who knows what's going on with their points deductions and all that sort of stuff, and how long that actually, if those are applicable. It'd be hilarious if the season ended and they got some other deduction and it relegated them. But after a really good midweek from Olympiacos, another club that the Nottingham Forest owner owns, I'm not sure how that really plays in this one. It's just something to say, I guess, especially because it was against a Premier League side. But I think Nottingham Forest is a big road favorite. Is something I'd like to be against. I just don't know that I'll really get close enough to wanting to play Sheffield United. Would certainly want a 1-goal underdog, and I guess that does correlate to under 3 potentially, but I don't really know what Sheffield United's doing at this point. Burnley then hosts Newcastle. Currently, Burnley a 0.5-goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 3.25. Juice very heavily to under. And this is one I really like. Burnley a 0.5-goal underdog at home against a really poor road team in Newcastle who have dealt with so many injuries. Clearly were not prepared for playing Champions League on top of their Premier League schedule, which makes sense. I think they're an easy fade for a lot of the season. Probably kept a lot of people like myself solvent. Burnley still fighting. I'm not really sure that they're going to be able to stay in the Premier League, but it's part of the DNA, as Vincent Kompany, their manager, said. So I like that under dog at home, and I like under 3.25 because I think that's another way to bet against the Newcastle offense, which I don't think is great, though the Newcastle defense has certainly been more porous than it was the season before. Manchester City then hosts Wolves, the nightcap on Saturday. Manchester City a 2.5-goal favorite at home with almost all the juice. Over under 3.75. Juice very heavily to under right now. Might see this at 3.5. And I think the big question is what will the Wolverhampton Wanderers do? I think that they have proven to play a very defensive brand. I wonder how much resolve there is in that end of season without much to play for, as there's certainly some beach tendencies for Wolverhampton at this point. I think Wolves, though, are the side I like here. So I like 2.5. It's gigantic. They play close games. It's what they do. And I'm just not necessarily a believer that Manchester City are that dominant this season. Moving to Sunday, Brighton to pick 'em right now to Aston Villa at home. All the juice in Villa away. Over under 3.25. Juice very heavily to under. Aston Villa fighting for I guess, Champions League, and of course have a big comeback needed on their hands to try to get into Europa Conference League final. But maybe Champions League is clearly more important. So Brighton on the other side have been struggling with injury all season, probably similar to Newcastle, more prepared to play multiple competitions, including Europe. Did well there, but I think things kind of fell apart, and they look like they're kind of going into a youth movement, playing a lot of young players I never heard of, all these random guys, and they all seem to be redheads, keep coming onto the pitch. Not a great thing for Brighton. I think I'll be waiting to see if them climb to a 0.25-goal underdog. But I do feel like the totals are pretty high for Brighton right now. So I think that's my biggest interest here is under 3.25, above 3. Villa, I think, have at least an eye on Europa Conference League. We'll see what their lineup looks like. And I think Villa, after really awful offside traps from a high line, really from both their fullbacks midweek, I do feel like there's going to be a serious attention on defense. But to be frank, Aston Villa has been really bad defensively away from home. Chelsea, a 1-goal favorite at home to West Ham in a London matchup. I don't know if we call it a derby. Over under is 3.25, just all the way to over. West Ham, I think getting a full goal of insurance from a team that doesn't defend is a really nice thing to see. I also like any total above 3 at this point, considering I think there's a good chance that there's fewer goals than that, but there are problems on both defenses at this point. So I think West Ham +1 is probably my biggest interest. And I guess that does correlate to the under 3.25, but I think I like that +1 better. Last matchup on Sunday, we have Liverpool hosting Tottenham. Currently, Liverpool, 1.25-goal favorite at home with slightly more juice. Over under 3.75, juice all the way to the over. Liverpool haven't been scoring, yet they're consistently a gigantic favorite. Makes me like Tottenham, though they can't defend corners at all, and got really exploited on that in the North London derby. Should be pretty motivated coming off of that embarrassing performance, and we might get a 4 here for a total, so I'll wait to see if that ends up popping. And moving to Monday, we have Crystal Palace, a 0.25-goal favorite at home to Manchester United with all the juice. Over under is 3, juice all the way to over. Incredible. Never really thought I'd see it, but Crystal Palace have deserved it. They've been playing great. They've been a money-making machine since Oliver Glasner had got in there and took that job. Manchester United I want to be against, but I'm not a favorites player in this sport. So waiting to see Crystal Palace move to a pick'em at home, and I like under here. I think follows along with a very good Oliver Glasner manager at coaching defense. But Manchester United's defense has been so problematic. It's just really hard to trust. I think for my best bet in England on this I guess, May 3rd episode. I'm going to go with a May 4th matchup. I'll go with that Burnley half of a goal underdog at home to Newcastle. Moving next to La Liga in Spain, we have Getafe hosting Athletic Club Bilbao. This is a Friday matchup, and it looks like Getafe, a quarter goal underdog at home. All the juice on Athletic Club right now. Over under is 2 and juiced all the way to over. Athletic Club with a really disappointing performance on the road at Atletico in Madrid last week. Had some racial monkey chants directed at one of their star Ghanaian Spanish players, which is pretty brutal. That's still occurring. I don't know necessarily what that does to the setup here, though. Athletic Club are fighting for Champions League and are now looking like they're on the outside looking in. They've already clinched the Europa League berth by winning the Copa del Rey. Could certainly question what they're playing for, but a lot of players are out of contract, and there's a lot that's going to happen this offseason, this summer with Athletic Club, so stay tuned for that. Getafe have been a really good, solid defensive side at home. That's the way I lean. I like that quarter of a goal, and I honestly, I like the under 2. It's very juiced to over right now. We probably get a 2.25 before this kicks off in about an hour. But I think at this point, I'll be waiting to see that happen. Moving to Saturday, Real Sociedad hosting Las Palmas. Currently, Real Sociedad a 1.25 goal favorite with all the juice at home. Over under is 2.5, slightly juiced to over. Las Palmas have been a disaster. You could argue they've run out of steam. They've got players that are probably focused on next year where they're headed to a different type of place. I think from a Las Palmas perspective, I backed them a ton this year. They made me a ton of money, and then unfortunately that's dried up. Unders have stopped hitting completely. The sides have been disastrous. The nice part is they go to Real Sociedad, who have not been able to score goals at all this season, despite a lot of talent. I think Las Palmas, their possession-based style has been found out or figured out maybe by La Liga. Maybe that's a potential explanation. I just feel like they've been making huge mistakes as well, and that's something you can't really protect against, and something that's really hard when you bet on them. I think with all that said, I think Las Palmas under 2.5 is my biggest interest here. I just don't think I can back a total, or I can back an underdog here away from home that's playing so poorly at this point in the season. Real Madrid then hosts Cadiz. Currently, Real Madrid a 1.5 goal favorite. Of course, they have Bayern Munich coming in this weekend, and will be very much focused on that as I look to charge my Apple Watch as it keeps buzzing, telling it's about to die. Over under here is 2.75, juiced pretty heavily to over. I would love to see a 3 on this one. Cadiz are going to do their best to keep this a goalless draw, though they need wins to try to get out of the relegation picture. I think fading Real Madrid with their minds elsewhere still is a big favorite here. 1.5 goals, gigantic. Like that side, but I think I like under 2.75 more. Would like 3 even more. Girona then hosts Barcelona in a battle in Catalonia. Currently, Girona a pick'em right now. All the juice on Barcelona. Over under is 3.25, juice pretty heavily to over. Girona's got a really big task on their hand because they've been dominated by the best teams in La Liga and are looking like a Champions League side for next season. So we'll see if that ends up working out. Lean to Girona at home, but they're only a pick'em. I want to see them catching a quarter of a goal from Barcelona, who I don't really know what they're playing for at this point, but don't really know that there's a lot that I want to do here. Two over seeking teams or goal scoring seeking teams. So even a total above 3 seems like maybe not enough for me. Last one on Saturday, the nightcap, Mallorca hosts Atletico Madrid. Currently, Mallorca, quarter goal underdog at home. All the juice on Atleti on the road. Over under is 2, juice all the way to over. And if there's ever a time for a potential letdown, it's Atletico Madrid coming off a big home victory, taking 3 points from Athletic Club, their biggest challenger for Champions League. Now Atleti go on the road where they've really struggled offensively, defensively, you could argue, but Mallorca aren't going to likely put up too big of a challenge. Mallorca are getting closer to safety, play really well at home. So give me that quarter of a goal, and I like under 2 there as well. Sunday, we go to Osasuna hosting Real Betis. Currently, Osasuna a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 2.25, juice more to the over. This was in the past a guaranteed Osasuna bet for me, but I just don't know what to do with them. Managers leaving. They make horrible mistakes. They've been horrible this season. Really, without Ante Budimir, they'd probably be in the relegation discussion right now, to say the least. Still going to put a home underdog on my list, getting a quarter of a goal and a great home field advantage. And maybe they put it together and try to figure out what they're doing with this team moving forward. But that's a lot of maybes, and that does concern me. I think under 2.25 is my biggest interest in that one. Celta de Vigo then hosts Villarreal. Currently Celta quarter goal favorite at home. All the juice on Villarreal on the road. Over under is 2.75, juice all the way to over. And this line's pretty surprising to me. Villarreal should not really be an underdog at Celta de Vigo. I've not been impressed by Celta whatsoever. And Villarreal, I think, have rounded into a pretty good team under their third manager of the season, Marcelino. I think Villarreal is of interest to me, getting a quarter of a goal, and I lean to under 2 3/4 as well. Would love to see a three, as I just don't think a Celta de Vigo offense as a home favorite. I just don't think they're a high scoring matchup, really. Valencia then hosts Alaves. Currently, Valencia, a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over under is 2. Juice all the way to under. So Alaves got a big win. Have started playing Giuliani Simeone, Simeone from Atletico Madrid's manager, his son, and have played him over Samu Rodillon, who's also an Atleti-owned player. Probably is heading back there, or at least heading away, and that's maybe why Alaves are switching things up. The big question here is, can Valencia score enough to cover this spread and win this match? At a quarter of a goal, I think it's probably enough for me to stay away, but it's very juicy at the moment. Plus 110 actually on the Alaves side. So we probably get a half a goal before this kicks off, and I'm fairly interested there. Also lean to under 2 because that's I think more of a speak to the home favorite that doesn't score much. And Alaves certainly are not the goal merchants of the world. Last two matches, I guess, are both starting at the same time. Rayo Vallecano, a 1-goal favorite to Almeria. Almost all the juice on Almeria on the road, already relegated. Over under is 2.5, juice all the way to over. And I think this is a great position for Almeria, who have been relegated, but trying to soak in and really show off, which does worry me a little about team structure, but I think will help for trying to put together a big performance on the pitch. Rayo are not impressive to me. Tough place to play, I guess, but still a defensive side, in my humble opinion. Lean to under 2.5 there as well. And last but not least, Sevilla hosts Granada. Currently, Sevilla, a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Over unders 2.5, juice all the way to over. Granada are going to be relegated if they haven't been already. Sevilla have been playing better, but are still managed by a defensive guy. So I lean to Granada here, getting that 3/4 of goal, and lean to under 2.5 as well. I think my favorite bet, though, on the list, certainly not a sexy matchup, and this team did just get relegated. It's like one of the worst, had the worst start to a La Liga campaign in Spanish history. But give me Almeria +1. I'm very interested in fading and really fading Rayo is something I love to do, and also getting and backing a already relegated side. Moving to Italy on Friday, we have Torino host Bologna in about 40 minutes. 50 minutes, it looks like. Torino currently a pick'em, more juice on Bologna on the road. Over under is 2, juice all the way to under. And this is a great matchup of two teams that don't really score that much. Bologna, a better offense in the Champions League spaces, which are in places in Italy, which I think is expanding at least to 5 teams, but they're still in there and I think are in 3rd or 4th place right now. Wasn't expected, but they've been awesome. Torino are a great possession team, but they don't score goals. So that points pretty well to potentially a lower ceiling for Bologna's offense away. And I think also they do great defensive work. So it's very juice right now, under 2. Don't want to lose that. But I really like under 2 in that Bologna at Torino matchup here on Friday. Moving to Saturday, Monza hosting Lazio. Monza, half a goal underdog at home. Almost all the juice on Lazio on the road. Over under is 2.5, juice more to under. And Monza are very, very attack minded and have stayed the same way, same philosophy from their manager, even after getting picked apart. A lot of their best players had left in the offseason. They've been great. They've stuck around and are going to be in Serie A next year. I think they're already safe. So that's pretty gigantic. And I like the idea of fading Lazio at this point. So I like that half of a goal. I like under 2.5 because Lazio usually plays low scoring matches. Sassuolo then hosts Inter Saturday night. And this is a big matchup at the bottom for Sassuolo. One of those danger teams that weren't expected to be in a relegation discussion are in it and look like they are going down. Sassuolo, 1.25 goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 3, juice all the way to over. I just don't think I want to fade Inter at this point. They're too good, and Sassuolo are too bad. Moving to Sunday, Cagliari hosts Lecce. Currently, Cagliari, a quarter goal favorite with all the juice. Over under is 2.25, juice more to under, and this feels like a direct result of a team that's on the beach. Lecce are pretty safe, if not completely confirmed as safe. I think they're better than Cagliari, not much though, and certainly Lecce goals are hard to find. I think they've got a good team for next season. We'll see how many players they keep. Cagliari have been great at scoring late goals. I don't really trust them, so I think my biggest interest here is under 2.25. Moving next to Empoli, a quarter goal favorite at home to Frosinone. Looking like two teams that might have found their way to salvation, though it didn't look good for either of them at certain parts of the season. Parts, points, whatever. Empoli, quarter goal favorite, all the juice on Frosinone. Over under is 2.5, and it's juice more to under. I think I lean to under. Empoli's got a pretty good defensive manager. Frosinone have improved a very leaky defense from halfway through the season. I think that's probably my biggest interest there. Moving next to Verona hosting Fiorentina. Currently Verona, a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. And if they can stay up, this is a huge, amazing save after winning a first time ever relegation playoff for teams tied and ignoring goal difference last season, to then this season potentially selling all the players that weren't on long-term contracts. Literally anything that someone wanted to buy, they sold. But Verona have been great. They've been covering the spread a ton. I've been backing them a lot. I love that quarter of a goal at home, and I like under 2.25 because they're going to play a tight match. And Fiorentina just had Europa Conference League midweek or on Thursday even, and this is an early matchup on Sunday. Milan then hosts Genoa. Currently Milan at 1.25 goal favorite at home. All the juice in Genoa on the road. Over under is 2.75. Juice more to under. I like Genoa as a team here. I like them getting more than a goal. I think they keep this very tight, and I'll be looking for a 3 to pop. We don't have that yet. I just don't really think Milan is very good. Last but not least, on Sunday, we have Roma hosting Juventus. Currently Roma a pick 'em, more juice on the Juventus side. Over under is 2, juice all the way to over. Roma coming off a really tough result in Europa League, a big mistake on a soft back pass from a game that they were controlling against Bayer Leverkusen at home, where they needed to win in the first leg, and now they're in big trouble. Though it does seem like Champions League and that extra spot could be enough for Roma to get back in there, so that's big for them. Juve on the other side, haven't been playing many matches, haven't been looking very good, in my humble opinion. I would like to be against them as much as possible. So Roma, I'm hoping will climb to an underdog, though I am concerned what that lineup will look like. Put them on my list at pick'em for now and under 2 as well. Moving to Monday, we have 2 matches. Salernitana, 1.5 goal underdog at home, already relegated with more juice. Over under is 3, more juice to over. Atalanta coming off midweek play as well. Good chance that they are potentially looking past Salernitana a little bit, focused on their European competitions, but just too good of a team and too big of a difference. I just don't want anything to do with Salernitana at this point. Udinese, with half goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 2.5, juice all the way to over, and they're hosting Napoli. Udinese fighting relegation right now, but I like that side a lot, so I like that half of a goal, and I also like under 2.5. I just want to be against Napoli as much as possible. So for my best bet from Italy, just a reminder, I'll bring this up end of show, but we'll pick best bet from the top 5 European soccer leagues I cover, and climb that, or put that all together, mash it all together, and pick one of my favorites so you can grade me on for this show. But my best bet from Italy, I'm going to go with Verona under 2.25 goals. I think that's a little bit safer than the quarter of a goal, backing them at home, but I also like that as well, and that's probably why I'm selecting it as my favorite on this card. Moving now to the German Bundesliga, we have a match starting in 30 minutes. TSG Hoffenheim hosting RB Leipzig. Hoffenheim, a 1.25 goal underdog with more juice. Over under is 4, juice all the way to under. Gigantic number, but at this point, I've learned if you're playing unders at this size, you've brass balls at this point, or grande cojones, if I can use another language. I think Hoffenheim has not shown that they want to play defense or are capable at playing defense. Leipzig have been on a huge upturn end of season. We'll see what players stick around. And they got off to a poor start, and it's hard for me to deny them anymore at this point. They've done very, very well. I don't think there's much for me to do in this one, other than if you are a value player and you want to bet, maybe go with that under 4 because it is gigantic. Moving next to Saturday, big slate of games. We have Borussia Dortmund hosting Football Club Augsburg, and Dortmund have a really big Champions League semifinal second leg coming up with a 1-0 lead that they're certainly going to be more focused on. So give me Augsburg getting a half of a goal, more juice on Dortmund right now. Maybe we get 3/4, so we get a half push if they lose by a single goal, but I'm not really worried about that. I think very good chance Augsburg will get a result, and Dortmund are not as concerned about Champions League because they're going to get an additional spot in Germany, it looks like. Over under here is 3.5. I like under there as well. But Wolfsburg, then SV Darmstadt. Currently Wolfsburg 1.25 goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over under is 3, juice more to over. Wolfsburg with an incredible comeback victory in very fortunate fashion. I'm not a believer in their 2 goals from outside the box, one on a free kick, one on a center back, just launching one. Incredible hit, but never going to see that again, I don't think, from Maxence Lacroix. Darmstadt are gonna fight, I think, even if relegated. I like under 3. I like the 1.25 as well. Just I'm not really a believer in Wolfsburg at this point. I think under 3 is a lot safer though. Werder Bremen then hosts Borussia Mönchengladbach. Quarter goal favorites are Bremen at home. Almost all the juice on Gladbach on the road. Over under is 3. Juice split both ways. Gladbach have not been good away from home. Have not defended anywhere really. Werder Bremen, I like a lot more, though this line certainly suggests that they are celebrating their safety because only a quarter goal favorite to Gladbach seems pretty ridiculous. I think my biggest interest here is under 3, though it's a tenuous lean at that. VfB Stuttgart then hosts Bayern München. We're also looking ahead to their Champions League coming up on trip to the Bernabeu in Madrid for Real Madrid. And for that reason, Stuttgart are a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over under is 3.25, juice all the way to over. And I'm very interested in the Bayern München side here. Back to Stuttgart, the first time these teams matched up, and in Munich. And Bayern were playing defensively, sitting back and counterattacking, and roasted Stuttgart doing that. I imagine they probably run the same type of style here, which also prepares them for their Real Madrid match. I'm just concerned that Bayern play a very weak inside. Maybe that throws this line even higher. It looks like it could trend towards a half of a goal, and maybe even climb higher than that. Over under here at 3.25 also just feels gigantic based on what will be a Bayern Munchen defensive setup. And certainly their players that will be on the pitch will be fighting to try to get a look for that Champions League second leg. The top spiel Saturday evening game is FC Köln hosting Sports Club Freiburg. Currently, Köln a quarter goal favorite at home. All the juice on Freiburg on the road. Over under is 2.75. Juice almost all the way to under. Maybe Köln have got the spirit behind them and the big crowd and that drives them toward victory. I just don't trust Köln to score goals, and I haven't all season. So give me Freiburg getting a quarter of a goal. I think I'm most interested in under 2.75. Moving to Sunday, FC Union Berlin hosting VfL Bochum. Currently Union a half a goal favorite right now at home with more juice on Bochum on the road. Over under is 2.25, juice all the way to over. I'll be waiting in the weeds for this one to climb. I don't know that I love Bochum getting a half of a goal. I like it though, and I like the under 2.25, which might get to 2.5 before kickoff. Eintracht Frankfurt then hosts Bayer Leverkusen in great position to move forward towards a Europa League championship or Europa League final. Eintracht a quarter goal underdog at home with more juice. Over under 2.75 with more juice as well. We saw Leverkusen not really starting their strikers this weekend. I'm not really sure what this lineup will look like. But Xavi Alonso just gets results and doesn't lose. It's impossible. Makes me, I guess, more interested in the Eintracht Frankfurt side just because they're at home. Leverkusen have thoughts elsewhere. I've already clinched the Meisterschale, first in their club history. And they got to go on the road and win. And twice in a week, I think that's going to be tough. Twice in 3 days, really. I think there's going to be some rotation here. So give me Frankfurt getting a quarter of a goal. And I like under 2.75, hoping for a 3 to push there. And last but not least, FC Heidenheim hosts Mainz 05. Currently, Heidenheim a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 2.75, juice almost all the way to over. Mainz have been awesome. They've been really intense. And they're going to go on the road and try to boss this match. But I don't think Heidenheim are going to be willing to let that happen. So give me the home dog getting a quarter of a goal. I guess I like under 2.75 just because I don't really still believe in a Mainz offense at this point. I think that probably dictates my feelings on all that sort of stuff. For my best bet on this episode in Germany, I'm going to go with the idea that Borussia Dortmund are focused on their Champions League semifinal. Let's all go Football Club Augsburg, a half a goal underdog on the road at BVB. And last but not least, I go to the French League. For some reason, it's a pretty light schedule this week. I have no idea why, but anyway, they do weird stuff all the time. Today, Friday, we have Racing Club de Lens hosting Football Club Lorient. Currently, Lens a 1.25 goal favorite at home with more juice. Over under is 3, just more to over. Lens right now, to me, are they have not been as good of a defense. Their offense is okay, but Lorient are going to try to defend like heck because they're trying to stay in the league. I think that all pushes towards Lorient getting a goal and a quarter and under 3. Love that push on 3. It feels gigantic for a French League match. Moving to Saturday, Le Havre hosts Strasbourg. Currently, Le Havre a quarter goal favorite at home. All the juice on Strasbourg on the road. Over under is 2.25. Juice all the way to under. Le Havre just should not be a favorite to anyone. They can't win any matches, but they keep being favorite at home, and I don't really understand it. I'm almost tempted to play a pick 'em here, but I like the quarter of a goal on Strasbourg as it's available. Also like under 2.25 because Le Havre just can't score and they're a home favorite. Monaco then hosts Clermont Foot. Currently, Monaco a 1.5 goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over unders 3.5, juice almost all the way to under. Clermont have been incredibly reliant on penalties this year, not likely to get them away from home. And so I don't really know. I mean, they're juiced team total at a half of a goal. It's gigantic at Bet Online currently. I lean under 3.5 here, though. Monaco are not really an under team and don't make me feel that comfortable, I will admit. Moving next to Metz hosting Rennes. Currently, Metz a half a goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over unders 2.5, juice almost all the way to over. Rennes have been, I think, improved, but they're going to have a really tough match. Mets have been very competitive, and I want to back that home dog. Plus, I like under 2.5 because I think they work that together. Try to get one of the few chances and keep Rennes off the scoreboard. Last on Sunday, before we get to an odd Monday French match, there must be a holiday or something like that. Anyway, Stade Brestois, a 3/4 goal favorite at home in the nightcap on Sunday, hosting Football Club Nantes. Currently, over under is 2.25, juice more to the over. Nantes are going to go to Brest and try to keep this low scoring. Brest are a really defensive side that have had a ton of success climb the table this year unexpectedly by really conceding few goals and scoring the few chances that they have. It makes me like Nantes getting a 3/4 of a goal and also the under 2.25 in that one. And last but not least, last game we'll cover on this episode of Betting the Pitch before we get into Ultimate Best Bet. We have Lille, a half a goal favorite at home to Lyon. More juice on Lyon. Over under is 2.75, juice more to the under. Lille have been kind of a roller coaster lately. I think they are a better side than Lyon, or much higher in the table, but Lyon have certainly climbed a ton since being league bottom in Ligue for a lot of the season. I think the Lyon side is tempting getting a half of a goal, but I don't know that's enough for me. I think Lille are too much better. And honestly, I don't have a lean to under here because you're both two goal scoring teams to me. So I don't know if there's much for me to do on this Monday matchup, but check back in with me on Monday and see if things have changed after a long football weekend. For my best bet from France, I'm going to go with Strasbourg, a 1/4 goal underdog on the road at Le Havre. I just feel like that's not the most difficult call to make, but honestly is one that I think will be most profitable in this league. So now it's time for the ultimate best bet. Thanks for hanging in, all of you. Appreciate everyone coming in midday while the work day is occurring. Also, it's amazing to see how many people are on this thing late night hearing Europa League stuff. But I guess that's just the most interesting podcast I do. Maybe the only one that's covered across podcasts on Apple or Spotify or YouTube. If you're not following me there, at the real_G Warner, or Betting the Pitch across YouTube, or excuse me, at the real_G Warner on YouTube, Betting the Pitch on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Those are linked. If you want to just watch this 1 minute coming up or upcoming reel that I do, the real_G Warner on Instagram. Plus, you can do that same sort of thing on YouTube Shorts as well. Got podcasts coming out next week. I think it might do an NFL podcast, early look at futures and regular season over-unders with at @A_Schnicker, especially after we just did the NFL draft and maybe some of the luster is still around from that. Have Major League Baseball podcasts out for the Friday baseball card with Munaf Manji, courtesy of pregame.com. Go check that out under RJ Bell's Dream Preview, or I think that's under that feed, or maybe the SOVAM. But anyway, you can look for it. Pregame now on Twitter is certainly tweeting that out as much as they can. And then I guess look forward to some Champions League stuff coming out early on Monday, and then back in the saddle with at A Brooks Bets for the baseball podcast on Tuesday. So that's the upcoming schedule. And I guess it's time for the ultimate best bet. So let's get into it. This is the real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the ultimate best bet for Betting the Pitch, the top 5 European soccer podcast betting show that I don't think anyone does across anywhere else across this great world that we live in. But from the English Premier League, I like Burnley getting a half of a goal at home. In La Liga in Spain, I like Almeria, 1 goal underdog. In Ligue 1 in France, I like Strasbourg, a 1/4 goal underdog. In the German Bundesliga, I like Augsburg, a half of a goal underdog. And in Serie A in Italy, I like Hellas Verona, a 2.25 goal underdog. If you're not following me on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, do it right now at the real_G Warner. And if you're not a member of my Patreon, go sign up. It's the best place to get all my plays, soccer, probably 15, 20 plays on weekend days, and then also baseball stuff. Get my leans, my write-ups. You can get plays locked in right as I play them. But for the ultimate best bet on this episode, I'm going to go with that Augsburg getting a half of a goal. I think very good chance Borussia Dortmund are looking ahead to Champions League and lose this match at home. And that'll do it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great Friday, all of you. And I will talk to you very, very soon in the next episode of Betting the